Sure. My name is Kareema. I'm living in Philadelphia right now, and I am part of Philly BDS in Philadelphia. Well, during the panel I was mentioning how I come across a lot of Islamophobia, people that come across wanting to argue with me and not have a discussion. If I bring up Palestine, or if I just say that I'm Palestinian or I'm Arab, and then it leads to you're Muslim, and then already you know automatically the person's thinking in their head of these negative thoughts, and that anything else that you want to talk about is just not going to be understood or taken into consideration. So that's what I face, that I have to sometimes rely on friends, which are allies, to speak on my behalf, which is oppressive already. So the fact that I can't speak about my parents' struggles and what happened to them in 1948 or 1967 is upsetting. So I have to have other people speak on my behalf. So that's like one of the challenges. And then sometimes just feeling self-conscious being in a room where you know that someone knows that you're Palestinian and they're just looking at you and they're ready to say something, or you don't know if they're not approaching you because they're scared of you without really knowing who you are. I think it's important to try to start from the ground up and try to speak to people during your events or just moments that you have others around you, to just build that awareness that some people are lacking. They're not aware of what's happening there. The only thing that they're aware of is what they see in the media, and most of the time in the media it's telling you a one-sided story. And it's just helpful for people to just be aware of what's happening there, and then once they're aware, they can do their own research to find out what the BDS movement's about, instead of sitting there thinking that it's a violent movement when it's not. It's a non-violent movement. But I've actually had a few people come up to me and say things like, if America no longer gave money to fund arms, then Hamas would just kill all of us. And I was very much surprised at that, because I never thought of BDS in that way. And I still sat there and I listened to the person who was speaking, and I explained that for me as a Palestinian American, and I believe as Palestinians in Palestine as well, what they want is an equal opportunity to live in a country. And there's nothing more than that. And what's happening there is wrong. So just because someone might not fully understand what BDS is, they should still at least try to consider to do their history, like to read up about it. When others come to you and have their reservations towards the BDS movement, I just try my best to tell them to do their own research, because our government is funding what's happening in Israel, and we should be aware of that, and we should not, just because we live in America does not in any way excuse us for not being involved in what's happening there. Just because it's not happening in your front door doesn't mean that your heart shouldn't be invested in fighting for basic human rights, no matter where it is in the world. I guess building more awareness, because I know that now that I was away from Philadelphia for a while, now that I'm back, I'm finding that it's super important to get more involved in different organizations, to show that there are similarities to our struggle, and not necessarily taking away from someone else's history, of course, but just knowing that if we build that alliance together, it just comes so much stronger towards other people who are unaware of what's happening there. So I think that when I remember seeing those pictures from Ferguson to Gaza, and I remember thinking, finally something that speaks volume, that others are going to be more aware of. I think it's going to help the Palestinians as well, and I think it needs to continue, and I hope that it does. I know that for myself personally, it just makes me feel comfortable, that I just feel a sense of solidarity and comfort when I'm among other people of color, because I know that I don't have to explain myself. So I think it's important, and it needs to still continue. I just don't know exactly how that's going to happen, but I know that whenever people talk about it, I'm going to be there to listen and to learn from that. What I would want to highlight a little bit is that sometimes people are very strong-minded, very well educated, which is great. You're aware of certain things that others aren't, but sometimes that limits us, because people try to understand someone's struggle, when I think that's not the goal. It's just to empathize and to listen and to be supportive without telling the person what they need to do. And I think that needs to always continue in our activism community, and anywhere you go. If people did more of that, we would just go further in our goals.